Alrighty. So, I'm always really fascinated with comparing weapons, stats, that kind of stuff. I really enjoy it. So, today we're going to be taking a look at two weapons that are super similar, that I hear lots of discussion about, and I argue with a friend of mine about it multiple times because they're super similar. So, in my hands I have a Stradavar Prime, and I'll be testing it against a Tiberon Prime. Now, we're just going to go over base stats real quick. Actually, not some modded stats. Going here, base stats. This one we're looking at a decent crit chance of 24%, 30% in the secondary fire, 2.6 and 2.8 respectively. Fire rate's pretty good in the primary fire, and then very, very, very low in the secondary fire. Damage types are pretty split for the primary and very slash-oriented for the secondary. 90 magazine size, pretty fast reload, and a small amount of punch through for the secondary fire. Keep in mind, for the secondary fire, you are doing a lot more damage, but you are going to be consuming 2 ammo per shot. So that's very nice, but it is slash based. For the Tiberon, we are looking at better accuracy. We're going to look at better crit chance. It has 3 fire modes for one thing. Burst, semi, and full auto. Crit chance is quite low in the full auto, but the status chance is very good. Crit multiplier is 2.8 in the full auto, 3.4 in the semi-auto, and 3.0 in the burst fire. Fire rate is 7.38 fire in the burst. We got a 6.0 in the semi, and we have a 8.33 in the full auto. Full auto, as far as they compare to the Stradavar, the full auto is slower, the semi-auto is faster, and the burst fire is somewhere in between, and it pretty much lines up. The Stradavar is much more extreme in its numbers, and it is more about just volume of fire versus the higher value of the fire from the Stradavar. So for these weapons, I have 3 builds set up to compare. We have the standard 100 munitions. Notice on every single build, actually this is standard 100 munitions, every single build except for this one for the Stradavar, I will have a fire rate mod because the secondary fire is much too slow. This is a viral hunter build, pretty standard. This is a armor stripper because everyone wants to see an armor stripper on rifles. And then this is the high value slashes with heavy caliber, and that's about the only difference. So yeah, and it's gonna have a fire rate mod too. So this is more about more slashes and less viral. So that's this. For the Tiberon, we're gonna have a similar layup. We're going to have the standard viral 100 munitions. Every rifle just viral 100 munitions for most things. Our second fire mode, we are going to be having an armor shredder again, fire rate, vigilante, dual stats, whole 9 yards. And then for the last one, this is another heavy hitter virals, 100 munition setup, no viral. Keep speaking, pardon me. So yeah, let's get right into this. I have done a tiny bit of testing, but not very much. Not enough. I don't really know how these compare yet. So we're gonna remove all biasy. I do slightly prefer the Stradavar, but I'm not particularly attached. I think it looks cool and prefer the bigger mag size. Fires like that. So let's make sure we got the right build and get right into this. Alrighty, so this is the Hunter Munitions Viral build. We're going to be testing against 4 heavy gunners and 4 bombards. Slash builds are going to kill the bombards much faster. So this is the full auto mode. Those arcades are not going to increase my damage. It's merely bullet jump velocity and a melee attack speed, and I don't even have a melee equipped. So as you can see, the viral wore off. But if you can avoid that, our DPS is not bad. Semi. Clearly the values are much better, but we're not getting any viral procs. There's a viral proc. That may just kill him. Alrighty, so it looks like you were very reliant on the viral. That time we got one early. And it nuked him. Keep that in mind. Against him, that's going to kill him right away. So yeah, because of the high slash and the secondary fire, it tends to lend itself to slash better. Notice how slow the fire rate is. That's the max fire rate right there. Are you not going to die? Let's make sure you die. Full auto versus you. This is a respectable time to kill, considering this is a no ribbon modded setup. We will not be using ribbon mods because the dispo is not the same, and it's impossible to compare ribbon mod performance. All in all, it is not bad. It is a very respectable damage output, Let's try the Tiberon with the exact same setup. Keep in mind, the Tiberon's going to have a much lower fire rate. Personally, the burst fire is by far my favorite way to use this gun. Although, if you stack enough fire rate on this thing, which I do for low-level missions, you can fire the semi-auto very quickly. We don't have it on here now. That's the full auto right here. That's the wrong button. The slash values are substantially smaller, but all in all, not bad. Burst fire is, in my opinion, the best fire mode. Very accurate, very ammo efficient. But again, damage is not crazy. Why I use Vigilante Fervor over Speed Trigger is because I actually use Vigilante armaments on most builds, so the set bonus is quite noticeable. Here's semi, just like the other one. Shreds right through them. Higher fire rate, lower damage, basically. Very nice. And then if you were just going to unload them, just go with full auto. Not bad. Let's do another full auto versus this guy. Both guns suffer from way too many impact procs. You can make it work. That might just one burst him. Nope. I guess it was the existing battle proc. I'll two burst him. So I would say, all things in a raw DPS test, the Tiberon does win out for this setup. Now, on the flip side, if I was trying to kill something heavy, I would take the Tiberon. That mag size is a definite factor for the other one, and you're going to run into a lot of reloading with Tiberon, and they have the exact same reloads, so you're effectively getting less than half as much firepower, per reload. So keep that in mind. So let's get that armor shooter out here, and we're going to break that out, start slapping nuts. Fire rate, vigilante, tons of stuff. So let's take a look at this. Status is nice, corrosive is nice. And this should be about the opposite. This should do much better versus the heavy gunners and worse versus the bombards. Although we will be getting a lot of slashes with my secondary fire, because remember, it is slash based. So I'll show you. That's that modded fire rate. You notice how much better that is. See, it burns the ammo quite a bit faster. But it also kills them very respectably fast. Not a bad time to kill. This is a bit more disappointing, to be honest. Again, it's not bad. This is pretty standard assault rifle damage output. You notice you're seeing a lot of orange crits. I wasn't getting touch shots there. Let's not say a little better. Getting a lot of orange crits. That's that 10% crit up chance. That is quite beautiful. I love it very much. So I'd say with the corrosive, the semi-auto is actually quite a bit better. And more ammo efficient, even though it's using twice as many bullets per shot. We're getting some very nice slash values in there, and all around. Cutting through these guys at a decent clip. If you can line up the headshot perfectly, this will kill them. But to be honest, the full auto on the Stradavar is not exceptional. You would think that the high magazine size would do it for you, but the balanced IPS means you don't get a whole lot of slashes. And the relatively low damage means you're not multiplying much of that really good crit numbers. So let's flip it around to the Tiberon, and we will test the same thing out. Now, I'm going to bet right now, without testing it, that the burst fire is going to be dominant here. Because burst fire and multi-shot tends to armor strip quite well. And it is, at least compared to the Stradavar, doing quite well. Semi-auto is actually slacking off quite a bit compared to its alternative. It's actually pretty bad, to be honest. And then the full auto. It's not bad, but yes, as previously expected, the burst fire, while being both the most accurate of them, is also, I'd say, probably the best armor stripper. Or at least the best overall damage output when armor stripping. That's not to say the semi is bad. It's just that's a lot of bullets from a semi-auto to kill something like that. And then the full auto is, again, rather disappointing. Not as disappointing as the Stradavar, I'd say, but it's... You would hope for more. You would hope for more. But again, it's not terrible. You're not looking at super Vandal levels of armor strip, but considering this is a weapon with a very nice burst fire, I think this is outright the best burst fire weapon in the game, and it's not even close. The burst fire in this is very good feeling, especially with some fire rate in there. Semi is also quite nice. If you want a comparison, really, this is basically a burst in with the Latron built in, and then a full auto mode. That's kind of how the modes feel, whereas this one is closer to a Grinlock with semi-auto. Alright, so for the final one, we are going to be looking at the heavier slashes. This one, heavy caliber, fire rate again, because it wants fire rate. And honestly, I think fire rate's very underrated on weapons. People want the biggest numbers, but applying slightly smaller numbers much more quickly is generally a great way to get higher damage output. So let's see what that full auto does. Really feel that lack of viral, but not bad. That's where the meat and potatoes are at right there. Those are multi-thousand slash procs, just a few shots to the head. And on the plus side, much less impact procs. With a little fire rate, I'd say the semi-auto in this is one of the best feeling semi-autos in the game because you do not get many impact procs. Lots of slash procs. And with 100 munitions and decent status, you're going to be getting both slash procs from your status and from 100 munitions, basically doubling up your chances of getting them. Very nice. Ooh, hold on a sec. Barely did any damage. Well, let's call that a fresh start. 2, 3, 4. What is this going to do to him? 2 slash procs. Takes him down to there. Very much dead. Let's go full auto again. Because of all the impact procs, it's hard to maintain steady headshots. It does kill him. It does kill him. Like, it will do the job. But the full auto in this is really whelming. It's decently accurate, even with heavy caliber. Look at that. It's not terrible. It's definitely got a finite range. But for the damage increase you're getting, that's more the issue, the semi-auto mode. But unless you're on planes, it shouldn't be... I mean, you're going to miss a handful of shots. But the heads in this game are massive, so you're not going to feel it. It's not like putting negative accuracy on a Lanka, where you're missing half your pellets. So let's grab the other slash build for the Tiberon, and take a look at that. Same build, I think. Let's kind of look at this, how this is. That's max fire for that. Fire for that. Fire for that. So, same enemies. Level 100, corrupt enemies, high armor, but we're using slash builds. These are going to be generally your hardest enemies to fight in game. Not bad. Yet again, the full auto is very whelming. Full magazine to the face. Kills them pretty slowly. And then the burst. Honestly, the burst has performed probably worse here. Partly because I'm getting so many impact procs. Goodness. Getting an impact proc of burst. But it's easier to test the overall DPS because I can wait for the impact procs and my slash procs to die down because I don't have any viral to worry about. If you get lucky with the burst, it can just nuke things. Which is quite nice. But to be fair, any blade build will nuke these guys. I'm trying a clean setup with the burst in this guy. So we'll do 1 burst. It's 2 slashes at quite a bit of damage. 3,000. 3, 4. Ooh. So 4 bursts. And I just want to stress how wonderful person this is. When I was leveling it, because I was leveling these today, I was exclusively using the burst fire in missions because it feels so much better than the other modes. Let's look at the Forma investment. This is a 3 Forma. This is a 2 Forma. A massive boon to the Stradavar is it comes with 3 Vs by default. 1, 2, 3. I added 2 more. You can make, if you want to ditch, if it wasn't for this build, this build wasn't for this build, you could run this with 1 Forma. You could run it with 0 Forma. You could run this with 0 Forma pretty easily. So one more thing I want to do is I want to test these things with this bleed build, but more centered on fire rate. Because, one, this is the accuracy of this thing without heavy caliber. It's not amazing, although it's bugged out right there. That is quite good, but the other one isn't as good. I was going to show the accuracy of the Hunter of the high caliber with heavy caliber with the Tiberon. That one's bugged still. You're gonna be bugged. Accuracy is not very good. Much worse than it was for the Stradavar. For the semi. Again, I'd say that's substantially worse than it was for the Stradavar. Realistically, in mission, high. Negative accuracy is quite horrible on this gun. Ironically, one of the most accurate is the full auto, comparatively. So I want to test out some fire rate, because I think both these guns are guns that are much more flexible when you toss some fire rate on them. We're going to remove the viral, but do the base build first. We are going to throw on Vigilante Fervor and Speed Trigger. 2 fire rate mods. This is technically a crit mod too, because of that set bonus. It was very nice. We're going to try this out, and this is how it's going to perform. Pretty ammo burning, but this gun has a lot of ammo. The burst fire feels very natural. Semi-auto is pretty fast, although it's a little awkward because it's like almost the point where you can spam it at max fire rate. And then that's kind of nice M4-ish fire rate. Something very controllable, but still high. So I predict this is... We're not going to count shots, we're just going to open fire into them. The whole point of this is to see how good it feels just with dumping shots. And I would say, at least, it feels quite a bit better. I think fire rate, I will repeat, I think fire rate on weapons is very underrated. You notice the values are quite a bit lower, but I'm putting so many more on them. The damage output is skyrocketed. As long as you have that timing down, his hand blocked most of those headshots. This is beautiful. That's semi. No impact proc. That was very fortunate. Now you can't really do... You only need one mod for a bleed build on rifles like this, and it's 100 munitions. So you can't really do a corrosive armor shredding like this. You could do one and then just forget about freaking multi-shot or one of the fire rate mods or something. But I would recommend against it. So we're going to do the same thing here. We are going to throw on 2 fire rate mods. And I think fire rate... I think if you're going to use this for anything short of level 100 plus, and even then you should consider it, fire rate is fantastic on the Stradavar. It makes it much more LMG feeling, and then the semi-auto is just much more fun to use. It is a very fun weapon with some fire rate. I would say it is a below average on a fun scale without fire rate. So let's go down here. I think this is where the semi-auto really shines, because those innate values are a bit higher, so we're not really hurting in the damage department if we get any luck with our procs, which we weren't there, but we still did enough. That should do him in. Whole mag went into the dead guy. Damage output is lower on this, but we're getting so many more shots. And if we were doing lower level stuff, this is definitely going to perform better just because, you know, fire rate. There's more enemies, we got more bullets. Unfortunately, the full auto on both guns has been very disappointing. You're basically looking at a little higher DPS versus bigger mag size. But the semi-auto mode, and this is something I don't think people really get, is how powerful the semi-auto on this is. It's quite potent to the point where the full auto is kind of an afterthought to dealing with groups when using this at anything past level 30. Because if you need 4 shots in the full auto, this is going to just one-shot it. And it's not like a Grimlock, which is just going to one-shot those guys. But unlike the other one, you don't have to spam it. You just kind of methodically put a few shots in, and then move on, and they will die. So yeah, very, very comfortable to use for the semi. The full auto, it's good at killing low-level stuff. One more thing we could try is attempt to make an armor shredder with the full auto. Try. Still going to want those crits. Might have to ditch that. You know what? No, we're not going to try that. But I will look into the Tiberon, because the Tiberon doesn't need the fire rate. Tiberon has good fire rate. So we're going to do armor shredding with this. And we're going to ditch you. Put that there. Put it there. And we're going to grab Vected Clip. So this is going to be a competent armor shredder. It's probably the best. This is what I would trade out for armor shredding. This is what I would do. Give us the most procs of corrosive. And you notice our armor shred wasn't bad, but the awkward thing is these weapons want crit points. And you really shouldn't sacrifice the crit on this thing for armor shredding, because it's like it would be like taking a lens and building it for status. Yeah, it still will kill stuff. I'm never gonna finish this off because this is really kind of painful to use. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like it's the way the gun's supposed to be used. Oh wait, this is 100 munitions on that. Hold on a sec, I'm an idiot. Pardon me, as my retardation is showing. We will just slap on Vital Sense. Alright, in this air of fairness, we try it again without 100 munitions. I was thinking we had a lot of slash procs for a non-slash based weapon. That's a little better. Not awesome, but the fact that we're not really waiting for slashes has its own appeal. It's more front-loaded damage, but it's definitely... Now, status is what makes the full auto shine. So if you love the full auto in these things, don't know why you would pick this gun particularly for full auto, because the full auto in this is just pick up a Super Vandal or a Bratton. You want a full auto? Carrick is very nice this time of year, but it's all about that base fire. It's not the highest DPS, I'd say. I'd say it's probably at the semi or the full auto, depending on your favorite status. But it's very consistent feeling. You're getting a pretty similar time to kill, whether you're building for Hunter or you're building for Corrosive. And whatever you build it for, it's going to do well. Accurate out to medium range with good ammo economy. Finally, I am going to go, I've really thought about it, I'm going to go retry the Stradavar. I know, very professional, just changing my mind on the fly. There's no cohesive to this. We're going to try to build a armor shredder build, because I feel like being a good person today. So we got Vital Sense, we got Serration, we got all these. Let's see. Status is still super low. See, that's the problem. You're not getting very good status with this, so it's not actually tearing off the armor very fast. Now, we could use Hammer Shot instead of Fire Rate, which sounds crazy. Why would you ever use Hammer Shot instead of Fire Rate? Hammer Shot's a bum mod. Well, it ups my status chance a good amount, and it ups my crit multiplier pretty well. So, you know what? Why not? Let's try it out. This might not be the best way to do it, but realistically, the status is so low anyway, it doesn't really matter. I hate taking fire rate off this thing. Yeah, the status is, it's there. Doesn't hold a candle to the status of the full auto on the Tiberon, but it definitely exists. I'm gonna bet this thing's actually gonna be pretty good, even built for corrosive as a slasher. Look at that. Semi-auto, and this is where it's at. Yeah, the full auto, it's just, it doesn't really do anything. If I wanted a large, I mean, it's not even really that large. The ammo economy is good, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything anywhere near as good as the other one does. Unless you're using the semi-auto mode as a slasher. When you use the semi-auto mode as a slasher, you are getting in a fantastic, I'd say a straight upgrade to the Latron. It's like the Latron Nuke edition. It takes all the efficiency out and just throws in damage. effectively has a 45-round magazine, 2-second reload, good accuracy, a little punch through, just beautiful. And my dream build in this, if I wasn't testing it, but I was just using it in standard gameplay, Prime Shred. Mine isn't maxed, but doesn't really matter. I'd max it out, and then I'd do Prime Shred. I do all this. I would throw on 100 munitions, and I would throw on Vigilante Fervor. And that's 2 fire rate mods, a bunch of punch through, good fire rate, good crit stats, bleed on crits, and we're going to test this as the final thing. Because I do use this for a lot of standard gameplay. I do not use a Tiberon because I'm not a normie. So this is what the full auto feels like. Barely use it. It's certainly a sling that exists. You can 1-meg these guys. So, yeah. But it's more that semi-auto that feels quite excellent. You'll get a good number of slash procs, you'll kill anything, and this will be both competent at lower levels due to its higher fire rate and good ammo economy, and it will scale to late game relatively well. Now, just like any weapon that can't armor shred, this has a very definite wall because of the fact that it can't armor shred. So if you go against anything that has more armor than these guys, and has large pools of health, think Leech X misses. Leech X misses at this level, this gun is going to struggle with totally. Same with the other one, really, unless you built like a hybrid corrosive slash build, which you'd be crazy, but you could. Alternatives to the alternate fire on the Stradavar. If you want an armor shredder, the Super Vandal exists. The Soma is also a great alternative to these two. I'd say the Soma's not quite as good as either of them. I feel like it's a definite slight downgrade. Let's put together a build for it, though. I only have one form on it, so it'll be a little interesting, but I don't know why I'm rambling on like this. I should probably just end the video, but we're going to keep going for a second. This is another crit monster weapon. Woohoo, another crit monster, vital, 100 munitions, freaking full auto main machine. That's the basics. What? More fire rate? And then, yeah. All right, this is the Soma. If you want something that dishes out more bullets in the similar way to the Stradavar's full auto, just use the Soma Prime. It's substantially more macho, albeit not much more efficient, but it makes a lot of numbers appear. So let's have a ramp up. But with some headshots, this thing can definitely tear through most things. You can build to armor strip, it doesn't really matter. No matter what you do, this thing's going to be a monster. Kind of fell off more recently. Still does the job. It's going to armor strip too, it can do whatever you want it to. I need to put more form in mine. But yeah, that's about it. So, in closing, Tiberon, I'd say, is a better rifle overall. It has more flexibility in what it does. A one set build for this thing, which is not this. We'll just rebuild that build so you can see it. 100 munitions. Same one I used for the other one. This, and you. This is what I use for both these guns. It doesn't maximize the damage per shot, but it does maximize the damage output reasonably well, while giving it very nice quality of life. The fire rate's very nice. Semi-auto feels good to use. Full auto feels like an actual machine gun. You know, like any gun should. And I will repeat this for the upteenth time, but the burst fire in this thing. It just... I can't describe it because it doesn't look good here, but in mission, you will be using the burst fire because the consistency it brings. You know, it's unlike the other two. The other two are giving me very conflicting numbers. This one's always killing just a few bursts. It's not nuking them really, but it's killing them in a few bursts, and it's doing it consistently, and that feels very good in mission. Basically, you're picking up the Tiberon for the burst fire. You can get better semi-auto. You can really get better full auto. either in the Soma, the Super Vandal, the Carrick Wraith, Batacor, Baza, Bratton Prime, Grakata, Gorgon. Realistically, those are all better than these two full auto modes. What they give you is flexibility, and I think the Tiberon does definitely do flexibility better because of the Burst Fire's high effectiveness at medium range, the full autos, full ability, and the semi-autos pretty good ease of use. What I think that this lacks is overall nuke output. It can't really dump damage. And its small mag size means you're going to be very limited versus groups. You're going to be reloading a lot. And if you were going to sacrifice any mod in here, I'd say just dump Vigilante for a reload speed mod. Something like Fast Hands, which is going to have a noticeable impact. That was very noticeable. And if you're going against something, say, Infested, Wildfire, great mod. 50 rounds instead of 42. So yeah, that exists. Stradavar, for that. Stradavar lacks in that it has zero flexibility. It should be a flexibility rifle, but it's not. The full auto is not worth using past lowish levels. Now, if you had a Riven for this, one of the few weapons that I'd say status chance would be great in a Riven. If you had a multi-shot damage status chance, or a dual crit status chance, if you could get status chance on your Riven, so you can make the primary fire actually armor strip, that would be fantastic, and I would highly recommend it. But unless you can get that, forget the full auto. The secondary fire, the semi-auto, the plink 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 is your friend, and it will do you well on the plains, especially. Get in your ship and you just float around, and it's just a beautiful thing of beauty. And you can build it no matter how you want. You can forget 100 munitions and build it with just dual stats because it is a slash-based weapon. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord it's slash-based. I mean, you can just do this. Just take these off. And that. Thank the Lord it's slash-based. But realistically, it's just... neither of these weapons are really usable, I'd say. And that's not... they're not usable for the game, but you acquire both of them very late. And I don't think either of them does a lot to set itself out from everything else. The semi-auto on this one is a cut above the rest of the semi-autos, I'd say, compared to something like a Latron or a Velt. It's pretty comparable to a Velt, I'd say. A little higher recoil, a little lower fire rate. But it's pretty comparable to a Velt. But it has a full auto. That's pretty terrible. Look, this is the full auto with no munitions. Get rid of him real quick. Against you. Full magazine will kill him. Getting bad values on the crits. Alright, that killed him. Because it's for some reason the IPS they balanced out in this thing. Now, if this thing were like were majoritively slash on the full auto too, like it is for the semi-auto, this would be the better weapon because slash reigns supreme in this game. But it's not. So don't bother. Do not bother with this thing's full auto past level 70. It's gonna hurt you. So yeah, that's about it. In summary, final summary at the very, very end. Tiberon is more flexible, but not as flexible as it's advertised to be. Still a better weapon than the Stradavar. The Stradavar is a terrible full auto, but a fantastic semi-auto. Still worth picking up and trying because it looks very good, and it sounds good, and it handles well, but not really... I wouldn't recommend it. In the long run, don't invest too much form into it. Thank God it doesn't need it. It only needs 1 or 2 max. So I would get it, put a form into it, see if you like how it feels. If you really like it, go crazy. I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. Might be your daddy, though. That's about it. Deuces.